Right? Do it with me. Somehow, that's the only thing that feels right. When trying to describe a collective experience of sadness, loss, grief, frustration, confusion, stress, there are no words that can do that feeling justice. But that feeling is a collective one, a collective experience, experienced uniquely, but experienced together. I want to acknowledge that. I want to talk about that. I want to spark honest conversations about how these collective, devastating experiences have impacted us. And yet, the most honest way I feel I can honor that is with a sigh, a breath. But I want to try. I want to try to honor these shared feelings and talk about the human experience that is happening in our world, what impacts that experience, and what we can do about it for ourselves and for those around us. So, welcome to the third Silver Lining series, Back to Basics. Because we are living in a world where our basic human needs are not being met, and we are constantly in a state of fight or flight. And the things we need most are often the things that are forgotten about first. Today, we're going to be talking about the breath. Now, I have talked about the power of the breath before, but I personally don't feel like we could ever talk about it too much. And so here I am, talking about it again. Why? Because it mirrors the human experience. Breathing is both voluntary and involuntary, conscious and unconscious. There are parts that we can control and parts that we can't. But today, I want to take a deeper dive into the mechanism behind the breath, the vagus nerve, the longest nerve in the body, often called the wandering nerve, because it connects most of the major organs between the brain and the colon. Largely responsible for mind-body connection, it plays a huge role in mediating our thinking and feeling. When people say trust your gut, they really mean trust your vagus nerve. You can think of the vagus nerve as an information superhighway and the queen of the parasympathetic nervous system. And as a reminder, the opposite of the parasympathetic nervous system is the sympathetic nervous system, our fight or flight response. And if something activates our fight or flight response, a dog chasing us, a hurricane comes, unconsciously, our breathing becomes fast and erratic. Our heart rate increases, our neural activity goes crazy, and we have a strong emotional response like panic, anxiety, fear, or anger. We've all been there. Some of us live there. Some of us just visit, and others have been living there for the last year and a half. But there's a bi-directional flow happening in this process that we need to become aware of. Information is constantly going up and down our vagus nerve. The vagus nerve conveys information from the organs to the brain, but it also delivers information back to the organs and changes how they behave. We know that our experiences change our breathing and our physiology. But if we intentionally change our breathing, we can also change our physiology, and therefore we change our experience. It works both ways. The vagus nerve is basically listening to the way that we breathe, and then sending the brain and the heart whatever messages our breath indicates. But again, the vagus nerve is the queen of the parasympathetic nervous system, that state of rest, digest, and relax. So the more we activate it, the more we fight off the effects of the sympathetic nervous system, that fight, flight, or freeze. Vagal tone is the internal biological process that represents the activity of the vagus nerve. Increasing your vagal tone activates your parasympathetic nervous system, that rest, digest, and relax. And having a high vagal tone means that your body can relax faster after stress. In 2010, researchers found a positive feedback loop between high vagal tone, positive emotions, and good physical health, showing that increasing vagal tone increases physical and mental health. And since we're all desperately trying to navigate physical and mental health in today's world, we need to pay more attention to how we can activate our vagus nerve. So once again, we talk about the breath. because breathing is the best way to stimulate the vagus nerve. Mindfully slowing our breathing increases our baroreflex sensitivity, which measures the amount of control over our own heart rate. So it goes like this. Controlling our breathing changes our vagal tone, which triggers our parasympathetic nervous system, which counterbalances the stress response, which influences our long-term physical and mental health. Easy as 1, 2, 3. We take as many as 23,000 breaths per day. The problems, are that 1, we're very rarely aware of them. 2, we're constantly in a state of stress. 3, we often hold our breath without being aware of it. And 4, we typically chest breathe instead of belly breathe. Have you ever watched a baby sleep? Their cute little bellies moving up and down because they naturally belly breathe and are in a total state of relaxation. But as we get older and the weight of the world falls on our shoulders, we get stressed. And when we're stressed, we chest breathe at a rapid rate in order to suck in more oxygen to fuel our heart and muscles so we can run away from danger. We all do it. And the first step is becoming aware that we're doing it. And then we need to tune into our natural, relaxed, baby breathing selves and slow and deepen those breaths to move from our chest down to our belly. But there are a lot of ways to stimulate our vagus nerve and help us to relax. Outside of just belly breathing, simply noticing the breath, adding a mindfulness component can stimulate the vagus nerve. Let's do it together. When you breathe in, I want you to think to yourself, I am breathing in. And when you breathe out, I want you to think to yourself, I am breathing out. All together now. Inhale, think I am breathing in. And exhale, think I am breathing out. And again, inhale, I am breathing in. And exhale, I am breathing out. And repeat. Simple, but effective. A few other ways to stimulate the vagus nerve: splash cold water on your face, sing, hum, gargle water. Notice if your tongue is latched to the roof of your mouth, and then slowly detach it. There are so many things that you can do to encourage that vagus nerve to activate. The goal is to learn and practice breath work and/or whatever tool you find works best for you when you are in a relaxed state, rather than trying to do it when you're already activated. The more you practice when your body isn't under siege, the more likely you are at being successful with it when your body is under siege. So, the silver lining is that even though we are continuously faced with challenges that are out of our control, there is an entire internal world that is longing for you to take that control back. All you have to do is breathe.